Hi, welcome to our lesson for today. We are looking at systems technology and we are focusing on hardware. We did speak about some basic input devices and now we are looking at your advanced input devices, devices that you can use in a lot of different places. So we're going to focus on these devices, which we call your pointing devices. They are pointing devices, but the purpose is that they serve as an input device. Now, a few examples that we can explore is a touchpad. So when you're using a touchpad, you are actually using a pointing device which acts as an input device. Some trackball, pointing stick, touch screen, a pen input, as well as a joystick. So these are devices that are meant for input, but they are not necessarily meant to be only used on a computer. For example, your pen input, when you use your stylus, you use your stylus on a tablet where you can actually use it as an input device instead of using your keyboard or actually using your mouse. And then there are other devices that are meant for input, but they're actually not pointing. They are scanning and also reading the data. When they scan, they're actually taking data in a form of input. When they read, they're actually taking data in a form of input. So let's look at these devices. The first one would be your digital camera. Well, yes, your digital camera is an input device. So as you are taking a picture, at that moment, your camera is acting as an input device. So you capture the image and it would be projected on your screen. That is if you're using a digital camera. Now your screen at that stage would be the output of your device. But when you capture the image, the input is actually the capturing of the image. Then you also have scanners, where you have different types of scanners. You have a flatbed scanner, you have a handheld scanner, and you have a feed sheet scanner. Now all of these scanners, in a way, they scan data in a form of input. So remember, when you scan data onto a computer or onto a specific system so that data can be read. Right, then continuing with these reading devices, we also have now your radio frequency identification device. Now this device would read information using your radio waves. Now your RFID tags, you'd find them in a lot of places. For example, where you get your tag being scanned. For example, some cell phones would have an RFID tag where you would scan and then it would actually retrieve the information in the device. Then you also have your magnetic stripe device where it actually reads information from a card. So when you get your credit card, you'd see it has this stripe that has to be swiped on your machine. So when that card is swiped, it actually reads data into the system. So that is why we also call it part of input device, but like we said, a more advanced input device. Another one would be your magnetic ink character recognition. Now this device would actually read and convert characters to be read by a PC. So it would read these characters and these this data, and then this data would be then recognized onto the system, and then you can be able to interpret this data. Then you also have your optical mark recognition system. Now this device would actually capture your surveys. You know, when you fill in your surveys and then you have circled and then you just fit in onto the system or onto this device, and then it will be able to analyze this data that was captured and then give you a form of a summary of this data. Right, another one would be a barcode reader. Now a barcode reader, you'd get it in most supermarkets where they scan the items or they scan your food parcels, and then what is scanned there is actually the barcode. When the barcode is scanned, it gets to be sent to the system, and then it retrieves information such as the price of the item or the name of the item, and that's where you are able to pay for your items that you've bought. Another one, optical character recognition. Now, optical character recognition uses light to convert hard copy into editable digital image. So what happens is this software, you'd get it onto your printer, and then what happens is when you scan your image, not on your printer but on your scanner, when you scan your image, and then your image would come out as a hard as a soft copy on your screen, but sometimes it is not editable. So the only way you can be able to edit is having your OCR, which is your optical character recognition, where you are now able to edit this image and make it more user friendly and make changes wherever you want to make changes. Right. Then you also have your video input, which acts as a device for input. You have your video camera, you also have your webcam. So when you are busy taking a video with your webcam, you are basically capturing input, and they are actually processed into becoming a video. When you're using your webcam, maybe let's say you're talking to someone on Skype, so at that stage the webcam is acting as an input device where it captures your image, and your image will be projected to the person that you're talking to on Skype. Right. And then you also have your audio input. Now, audio input would be where you use a microphone to project your voice, and the voice would be recognized by the system, and then a function would have to be performed, or an instruction would have to be followed regarding obviously what you've instructed your computer to do. Now, your biometric input, which is the last part of our input devices, which is the most popular and growing, and the one which is more recommended, is safe in terms of basically using your device. For example, your fingerprint scanner. Now, input, remember, you are using this device to put in data onto a system. Now, let's say, for example, you have locked your computer, and your computer actually uses fingerprint scanning. Now, instead of you having to enter your password or your username on your system, you actually put in your finger onto the scanner, and then it will recognize your finger characters, which we normally call the unique biometrical feature. Biometrical features that are unique of a person, but obviously this also involves the use of software, where the software would recognize your unique biological features. So for example, again, another one would be your eye, where you'd have to scan your eye, and then it would recognize your unique feature, and then if it has to log you in, you log you in, or if it has to allow you to open up a door and get through, and then it will allow you to do that. So these are some of the basic input devices that we've discussed in a more advanced where you don't necessarily have to use them only on a computer. For example, like your biometric device, you can use them for your gate, where you just have to scan your hand, or for rooms where you actually place important stuff, where you can actually scan your eye. I mean, you've seen some of those devices being used in part of technology. So that's it for our input devices. We've looked at the basics, and now we've explored the more advanced. Hope it did help you a bit. Thank you for joining us.